Hey, Scott Jordan here for Jancast number 120 for March 24th, 2022. And it's spring. Mark Warner, hello. And we have a guest with us too.
We most certainly do. Let me introduce Brant Insero, who is the International Director of Education Training, Certifications, and Standards for the ISSA, which stands for the Worldwide Cleaning Industry Association.
Yeah, and welcome to the show. This is the longest running podcast specifically to the cleaning industry that was started by Mark Warner and myself in 2004. And we won the ISSA Innovation Award in 2005. We didn't win in the InterClean show because we won in the United States. They didn't think we should win in Europe. Whatever, who knows?
A likely excuse.
But thanks a lot for joining us, Brant. We had a guest on the show 2 weeks ago and got some phenomenal numbers. So I'm anticipating we're going to have some great traffic on this one. So I guess one of the basic questions is, this whole supply chain thing we've been talking about for the last 2 years doesn't apply to what you're involved in, Brant, which is training. There's unlimited supply of training available, right?
Yeah, thanks, Scott. And Mark, Scott, it's an honor to be on your podcast, and thank you for having me here. What's interesting is you're right. Supply chain is in a bit of a chaos, right? They're struggling a little bit with getting the materials. There's labor shortages. There's a lot going on there. But at the end of the day, people matter the most. And when we think about training, we think about education, certifications, and standards, we often forget about the impact that it has on the people and the efficiencies that are created around the workplace. And so when we think about education and training, particularly, my question I want to throw back out is, what are we losing if we're not training people? I think that's the thought that we need to be having with each other.
Yeah. Well, we've certainly learned over the last 2 years that people didn't have any idea what they were doing. And not in all cases, but in a lot of cases, right?
And thanks for actually mentioning that, Scott. What's really phenomenal is I wrote an article about this with Sunbelt Rentals, and it's not that people didn't know what to do, it's confusion. They were getting mixed messages, not only from the federal government, state and local governments, but our own industry as well. There was mixed communications from everybody. And I think that's what caused the confusion. So we just need to bring it back to the core fundamentals of what we do on a daily basis.
Yep.
One of the best things that really happened in the last 2 years, if you can look at something that might be considered good, is that the cleaning industry in general was put front and center on center stage.
Yeah.
And prior to that, really it was somewhat below the radar. If you were involved with the cleaning industry, the next question people would say was, doing what? Taking out the trash, So ultimately, in the last 2 years, there became a big reveal that there's arts and sciences involved with cleaning, and especially with disinfection. So, that did a lot for the cleaning industry. And one of the things that I know you and I work together on a lot of the standards for the cleaning industry, Brant. And what was one of the things that I wanted to bring up during this podcast, as you put it, we call it a Jancast for the record, but is knowing what standards are, and there's an awful lot of folks, when you talk about standards, they go, I don't think the cleaning industry has any standards. I need to create some. And it's like, whoa, time out, grasshopper. There's a lot of standards. ISSA has at least 3 that we talk about all the time: the SIM standard, the K through 12 standard, the institutional commercial standard, and there's about 20 other standards that exist out there in the world in different aspects of the cleaning industry. And, I think that before we dive real heavy into the whole, definition of training and all that, is to know that you got to know your standards to know what you're trying to get to. Like, what's the end game? And if you know that, then everything else can be woven into it. But as long as we have a world that doesn't know that there's standards out there, we're challenged, and we end up with people that flipped burgers yesterday, and now today they're frontline workers in a cleaning company. And that's kind of, I think, where we have to start, is getting people educated that there are standards, and those standards are high.
Yeah. Yep.
Sorry, I just, feel strongly about that. But, one of the things that we've talked about over the years, Brant, is the difference between like education, training, and certification. And, education is something that you can get from a book, and you can watch a TED Talk, or you can Google something. But, just having book knowledge in your head doesn't mean you know how to, implement it into your work. And so, I wanted to set the stage for you, sir, so that you can talk about training a little bit.
Mark, you brought up a good point, and I think we can't discount the different types of training. In our industry, I've never seen an industry so strong with training resources, specifically, whether individuals are getting it from their distributor partners, their manufacturer partners, or independent organizations such as ISSA. It's been really rewarding to see the industry come together over the last couple of years for the training programs. But I find more value in the certification, Mark. Oftentimes people will take a training class and that's it. And they walk away with nothing, no sense of achievement, no way to validate what they've learned. And I really believe in my heart that the certification is what's going to make the ultimate impact in our industry. The old saying, when the tides rise, all ships will rise. I would love it someday to see that it's a requirement in our industry that people are certified and trained properly for best practices in the cleaning industry. Yeah. In one of the areas that we've talked about, Mark, and you were instrumental in this when you were here at Cleaning Management Institute and ISSA, is performance-based assessments. It's really easy, like you mentioned, to take an online course and take a quick exam. But where's the proof? We want to see people do that work, and ultimately that's where we need to go.
Yeah. What's interesting is
that's important too for the people that are investing in getting their people trained, that they want to have a return on their investment, right?
Yeah.
One of the more interesting statistics out there, and I've heard John Barrett reference this as well, that there's probably 5 million people or more involved with the cleaning industry. And the last numbers that we've thrown around is about 250,000 are documented as certified and trained in the arts and sciences of cleaning and disinfection. So if you do the math, it's like 5%. So, to Scott's point, 95% of the cleaning industry that's still out there doing it is probably not documented as skilled and trained in it. And that's what certification is about.
Yeah.
And one of the areas that we're seeing shift, Mark, over the last several years, and it's fun to watch it change. You're starting to see property managers, building owners, and government agencies requiring individuals being certified, or companies being certified, or receiving some sort of an accreditation through industry accepted organizations. And that's been really nice to see. And I think it's important that hopefully that trend will continue to grow.
Well, you think about hiring an electrician to work on your house. You want to know that that person is certified or accredited and trained and knowledgeable, or a plumber or whatever. And it's about time that the cleaning industry looks at it that way too, because it's more than just making things look nice. It's human health and safety. So anyway, I know that was probably a line you were going to use. So.
Well, for the people tuning in that aren't familiar with the ISSA and the services that you provide, maybe it'd be a good idea to kind of run down the different levels, as I call them, of what's available, so that people out there then will know what they should be looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. Scott, thank you for that. By the way, ISSA is approaching our 100th anniversary. It was founded in 1923. So we're really
You don't look that old, Brant. You don't look that old.
I know. I'm trying to keep it. I don't want to lose my hair,
He was only 6 months when he started.
But man, it's been exciting to see ISSA grow. We've had roughly 20 to 25 partnerships, mergers, or acquisitions over the last several years, including programs that are pretty prominent now, such as GBack. But just to understand some of the nuances to what we do, we offer training and education and certifications for just about any job level, starting with the core competencies of frontline cleaning professionals, all the way up to director and owner levels of organizations. But more importantly, just to understand at ISSA that there's programs for individual people. We want to create career pathways and career development for the individuals for long-term success in our industry. But then there's also certification and accreditations for the organization level. And Mark mentioned SIMS earlier, and there's also GBack as well. And each brand really represents a specific niche or topic that we can really focus on. But again, we really have something for everybody.
Cool. Yep. So I have on my card, everybody, if you can see that, I have the SIMS logo on my card. So what's the big difference between SIMS and GBack, if you can define that? Because I think that might be interesting for the audience.
Yeah, and it's been a really interesting topic over the last couple of years and to try to define the differences. But believe it or not, Scott and Mark, there's more similarities than people realize between the two programs. SIMS was created 12 to 15 years ago as an essential framework that a cleaning organization should adhere to. So it's every little thing that they need, such as management commitment, inventory control, requirements around training and service delivery. But it wasn't focused narrowly on infectious disease control. And that's where GBack came into play when the pandemic started. It was 20 overarching elements designed to really battle things that we couldn't see that we're fighting a war against. And it was all about the infectious disease control and how to mitigate the risk around that. But ultimately, those two programs complement each other extremely well. And I think if any organization was interested in those two programs, look at them from a holistic point of view.
Cool. Good. Good. Well, so what do you think is going to happen for the rest of 2022 if you can look in the Brant crystal ball?
I wish I had one. I'm sure my boss would love it if I did. But, it's an interesting question. And I'm kind of like looking off into my crystal ball now. But I don't see any solutions to the labor challenges in 2022. Yeah. Organizations are truly struggling to not only find labor, but retain labor. And I think if people implement a true education, training, career development pathway, not only to empower their current employees, but it's also very attractive to new employees to say, I have a pathway to succeed. So I do feel like if we're going to try to fight this labor shortage and really encourage people and drive a different company culture, we can do it through educating and providing certifications and resources to employees. One of the biggest reasons why employees either leave a company or do not go to a company is they feel like they are not empowered to make decisions and they do not have the resources to succeed. So I think if we could take the next 4 to 6 months as an organization and really focus on how do we develop those pathways for individuals to succeed, ultimately we can help try to curb this labor issue that we're facing today.
Yeah, it's a very unusual situation in that when everything started 2 years ago and all the businesses shut down, all those people that got put out of work and they don't necessarily go back to the same job they had a year and a half ago. So training is even more important now than it's ever been because you have all these people that have never been trained at all. I mean, at least before you had people that worked in a facility for 10, 15 years. And even if they weren't trained, they at least had some knowledge just because they'd been there that long. Now you got a brand new workforce that don't have any idea. So it's very challenging.
Yeah,
I can remember.
Go ahead, Mark.
No, I was going to say, I can remember people saying to me, really good training, has a cost associated to it. And if I'm going to invest that kind of money into my employees and get them certified and trained and talented and skilled, what if they leave? And my comment back to them is, what if you don't train them and they stay? So anyway, it made me think of that as you were talking about that.
Good point. Good point. So, well, I appreciate you coming on very much, Brant. Where could people learn more about the training programs that the ISSA offers? And if they want to get in touch with you, how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, the easiest way is just go right to our website. It's ISSA.com. or feel free to contact me directly. It's really simple. It's brant@issa.com, and I'm happy to answer any questions for you.
Yeah.
And if you want to see him in person, go to Chicago this fall for the ISSA show in Chicago.
Yeah, we're looking forward to the show. Chicago is always a fun town. The timing is really good this year, and it seems to have switched back to what the original cycle was, roughly October, middle end of October, which is perfect. Yeah, we're all looking forward to the next show, since Bullen actually missed out on the last one, so we feel bad about that.
Well, we're glad to have you back, Scott and Mark, and we're really excited about the trade show this year. We're going to have roughly about 100 to 150 total educational sessions.
Wow.
But we're expecting some of the largest crowds that we've seen in years, because this is our first real big opportunity to come back. And I don't want to say post-COVID, but as the pandemic starts to subside a little bit, we're pumped.
Yeah. Well, let's keep our fingers crossed that there won't be any more variants coming down the road that'll cause some issues, right?
Absolutely.
You know, we're really grateful you made some time for this Jancast.com episode. Very grateful indeed. So
we're always here to support you guys. So thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. See you guys.
Bye.